Welcome to my e-portfolio. In this, one can see how I have grown as a teacher throughout the year. I would like to first draw your attention under Teaching and Learning. Under Teaching and Learning, I have two separate tabs. We will first begin with my educational philosophy. My educational philosophy states that in order to be a successful teacher, one needs to be passionate and enjoy what they do. As a bilingual teacher, I need to find different ways in order to have my students engaged and to help them better understand the English language. Under classroom organization falls the classroom rules. In order to have my students understand the classroom rules, we decided as a whole group, as an entire class, what our classroom rules would be. The students had to sign off as a contract stating that they agree, and they were to follow it each and every day. I also have a classroom behavior chart which is color-coded green, yellow, orange, and red, and it is written out in both languages for my students to understand. Here are the pictures to demonstrate. Right here are the rules that we came up with as a class, and on this side is the contract stating that they have agreed. Next, this is how I have the classroom set up. Everything is center based. We have ESL center, we have a listening center, we have the Science and Social Studies Center. Here's my classroom management behavior chart. I also have how are they feeling today. Next, I'd like to draw your attention to my instruction. I find in order to have students really understand, they need to have fun. I have implemented what is called earning Smarty Beads through vocabulary. As I've stated, I am a bilingual teacher, and sometimes it is hard for students to understand the vocabulary. Words that we may think that are easy are a little bit confusing to my bilingual students. In here, there's, I was teaching how do we earn our Smarty Beads through vocabulary, and the students had to, well, as you can see, they were really engaged in earning their Smarty Beads. I use different strategies. We use our textbook, as you can see back here, for comprehension, and all the students were really engaged trying to earn. At the end of the day, what happens, the student with the most Smarty Beads earns a prize from the treasure box. Here's our Smarty Bead wall to keep track, and it has each of my students' names, and they just earn beads and hang it up. Another thing that I have implemented is during independent reading, a lot of times my students struggle to understand what they are reading. What I created was this main idea in both languages so they can better understand what is the story about. I always explain to them the story needs to be about something. By having this, they're able to look at the question and better understand what are they reading. They need to go during independent reading to their certain spaces on the rug or on the floor, and they just need to read to themselves and fill this out. This is how I'm able to grade them. And if they need assistance, then I'm able to view if they have filled out this sheet or not. Here are a few examples of my students reading. As you can see, the sheet is out. He's reading. He's to himself. He's in his corner. And this just helps him to fill it all out. As I mentioned before, I run a center-based classroom. Basically, when we're in literacy, they have different rotations that they need to do in order while I work with different groups. For example, they have computer, they have writing center, they have the center with the ESL teacher. I usually take the low students and we just work with phonics, letter sounds, letters, and just repetition. And what I use in order to check all of my students under my assessments tab So students have this sheet that they need to fill out, and what we do, they need to write their name, they write the week of, and as you can see, they need to answer 4 questions. What I have them do is turn it over to the back and write every day of the week, Monday through Thursday, because Friday is actually our test day. And they have a chance to earn 4 points per day. If they stay on task, if they completed their work, if all of their work was accurate, and if they followed our classroom procedures. They have a chance to earn 16 points at the end of the week, and this will be their final grade. This is a student after her writing center, her demonstrating what she had written. While they're on computers, I have them type out usually their words, or they're taking quizzes on their Raz Kids account, so that's a way for me to also check. As I mentioned, all students know what they need to do, so whether it's independent reading, I collect the sheet at the end. If it's computers, I get to view their assessments via, if it's Raz Kids, or if they're typing the words. I am also working with the group. As I mentioned, I have an ESL teacher who also assesses them, and we just have different assessments throughout our entire literacy block. Another thing that I have under assessments, because we like to have use a lot of manipulatives, is when we were learning about place value in math. And the students actually made a place value holder to help them understand how they can better read the numbers from ones, tens, hundreds, thousands. And down here you can see how a student was able to utilize not only her place value holder and in her book to write out numbers. My favorite thing as a teacher is working with the families and my students and how I could better serve them. Under the culturally responsive teaching, I have included just some of the things that I have done thus far in the year. I will start with the back to school contract. The back to school contract was actually written. There are 3 bilingual second grade teachers and 4 monolingual teachers. The 3 bilingual teachers, including myself, we sat down and decided to create this contract to help parents and students understand what are their expectations. Many times we have students who come from other countries and they have never been to school. So these are just a few reminders as to how they should act and what should the parents be doing at home with their child. Back here, as you can see, here are some of the daily rules that they must do every day. And then the child needed to sign, and the parents also needed to sign. Another thing that I had created was during back to school night, I made up an agenda in Spanish for the parents so they can better understand our daily routine and any questions that they may have regarding school. We are one of the biggest schools in Trenton, and we are the mega bilingual school. So many times our students get bused from the different locations throughout the city. So a lot of times our parents, we don't get to see them every day. So I try to cover everything so parents can get familiar with the procedures. Another thing that I needed to implement in my class that I found was very confusing was with homework. In my classroom, I'm fortunate to work with an ESL teacher. But what we were finding is that some students were doing my homework and not doing her homework, or vice versa. I went out and bought a bag for each student with their own folder, wrote their name, and I made a spreadsheet as to what do they need to do on a daily basis. As you can see here. It is written in both languages. This is taped to the folder that I have bought for them. This plus a notebook goes inside of the bag that I have bought. So each and every one of them knows that Miss Ramos' homework goes in the bag. The letter states what I have done and how parents need to understand that the students need to respect the materials. If not, they will be held responsible. Another thing that I was finding that many students were not doing homework. So what I created was an incentive. If a student does their homework the entire week for both teachers, they will be able to come and have lunch with me every Friday. Here is a list. I started this on October 16th. On October 16th, there were only 3 students who did both my homework and the ESL's homework. The following week, the list doubled. The third week, it even grew more. Now we're in November, and I had more than half of the class attend lunch with me. This is just an incentive to get them to do their homework, and I just really want them to learn. They do enjoy coming up with me, and we just make it a fun, relaxed environment when they do.